Coming live every morning here for Digital Trends Live. It's Greg and Caleb in the mornings. Caleb, how are you doing today,
I'm
buddy?
feeling pretty great. I got my coffee, and it's a little dark outside.
Whoa, a little too much coffee today. Hello,
Zoom,
everyone.
zoom.
This is Digital Trends Live. This is our daily show that we do here at Digital Trends, broadcasting live at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, every day, bringing you tech headlines, interviews. We've got live commentary going on from everybody who's talking right here in the chat right now, and that is because we're broadcasting live on Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube. Let's run down the docket of what's on the show today. Coming up in just a little bit, we're going to head to our New York studio. We're here in Portland. We've got our New York studio. We've got Jeremy Kaplan, our editor-in-chief, who's going to be standing by with Tim Alessi. Tim is the senior product marketing manager. Correct me if I'm wrong on that,
Nope,
Caleb?
that's exactly right.
I nailed it. I didn't need to check again. Of LG. So seriously, we have Tim Alessi from LG, who is going to be on talking about their future products, what they're working on right now, maybe a little preview of what we get to see at CES. We're broadcasting live, and that means we can take your questions for Tim right here. And then a little bit later on, we've got another special guest who's going to be joining us. And that is because we're going to be talking to USA Today Network's Director of Emerging Technology. So the Director of Emerging Technology, Ray Soto, he's a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist who's going to be hopping on to talk about everything that they're doing in the world of VR, AR, modified reality, how they're crossing that bridge with regular storytelling and creative storytelling and journalism, and how they're bringing those two worlds together. We're going to have Ray Soto on. But here, right now with us, we have Mr. Caleb Denison.
Good morning.
Hello, Caleb.
That was a brisk entrance that we had.
It was. You know, I had to go for it. We were talking about before we went on, we clearly need like a morning radio show vibe.
Oh, yeah, totally.
show,
We need to bring in some horns and some kazoos and
We're working
other
on that.
percussion instruments.
Yes, look forward to that in the next year.
I think that's where this show needs to go.
That's what we're thinking about. But we want your opinions. Yeah, do we need more horns on the show? All right, Caleb, I think it's time we get into some tech headlines here. Because a little bit later on the show, too, I do want to remind everybody, you're going to walk us through kind of holiday TV buying. Like,
yes.
what are the tips and tricks we need to know?
From
when
like,
should we buy?
yeah,
what
exactly.
should we buy?
Yeah, from like when you decide you're going to pick one up, picking one out, then you get it home, you open it for Christmas, then what? Do you keep it? Was it a smart purchase? A little bit of buyer's remorse? We're going to go through all of that.
We'll cover all of that, so that means definitely something. If you have questions about what television you want to buy, put those in there, and we will make sure we cover that. Right now, let's get to a tech headline before we go to our Read 'em and Weep segment.
Am I going to be angry first thing in the morning? I feel like I'm going to be angry.
I don't know. I don't know if I have
Are you going to
control over
mention Facebook at some point this morning?
Yes, I will be.
Then I'm going to be angry. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for Caleb's Anger. That is a new segment here on Digital Trends Live. Before we get angry, let's talk about something that maybe would make you happy.
Sure.
Has to do with Apple Music.
Oh.
So you like Apple Music?
You know what? I have Apple Music.
Uh-huh.
Because I just keep forgetting to cancel it. I'm not gonna lie to you.
No,
Like I do have Apple Music, and I will be honest with you. I love CarPlay. I use it in my truck every single day. And I was recently on a road trip with some buddies, heading down to a gig that we had, and we were just pulling tunes left and right out of Apple Music. And at that point, I realized maybe I should keep it because it's just that convenient to say, Siri, play this thing, and it just pops right up. So yeah, I have been honestly thinking the only reason I had Apple Music was because I keep forgetting to cancel the subscription, but I might be turning around a little bit. Well, there is some convenience factor there, just asking for the song you want to play. It's not as easy for Spotify to do that through CarPlay, but now your Echo speaker at home,
That's part of the news. And this was something we did know was coming, was that Apple Music now playable through Amazon's Alexa. So in Alexa-enabled devices, you can now just say, hey, play Apple Music. Damn it. Play Apple Music.
This is what happens when you say the A word.
Live. I know I had to do that.
Don't say the A word.
I know.
Everybody's speakers are lighting up at home right now.
That was on me. I deserve that. No, but you play Apple Music through any Amazon A word enabled device. And you can play that. And also, in addition to that, third-party apps coming as well. So Apple's already advertising it in the Apple Store that you can download the A word and have that ready to go. I think there's a couple of things that are unique about this that are interesting because a lot of these big tech companies, and these are things that we've talked about before, Google versus Amazon versus Apple, they're all kind of competing. You know, Amazon and Google have their huge battle about whether or not YouTube can be played on certain devices, whether you can play it on the Echo Show, you can't.
Nope.
And now, though, with Apple Music, Amazon has their own music service, but this seems to me to be both of these companies kind of saying like, okay, we're not that good at this side of it. not everybody's buying the Apple HomePod. I mean, let's be honest. The Apple HomePod is not flying off the shelves, and it's very expensive. And at the same time, not a lot of people are probably using Amazon's music service, so why not combine those and just say, hey, I'm not doing this as good, go ahead and do this.
Apple HomePod is a one-time
right?
purchase. I think you're right. Apple HomePod is a one-time purchase. Apple Music is a subscription that keeps feeding the Apple Monster every single month. So they want people buying into that subscription service. Also, it's their way into your home. If they haven't already snuck in through Apple TV, they're going to do that. You know, they really want to push their original content. They're producing a lot of TV shows behind the scenes, and all that stuff is coming right around the corner. So Apple needs to be everywhere, and when it realizes that Echo Speakers, Amazon's A word, is everywhere, you definitely need to be there. So I think it was a smart move for Apple. The thing that you mentioned where, you know, Google's YouTube isn't on Amazon devices, you can't buy certain products at Amazon because they're competing. That's ridiculous. You know what? Just free open market. I want to buy everything everywhere. I want to listen to anything anywhere. I think Apple made the smart move by playing that kind of game.
Well, that's where we're at right now. So Apple Music, you can now play it through A-word-enabled devices. So that's kind of what the story is we want to do there at the top. Let's go on to another story before we get into the tech headlines. Looking forward to Caleb's anger segment.
Oh, yeah.
We've got the Read 'em and Weep segment.
My
this
favorite.
Is where we read the comments that you post across our different platforms. Jake takes some time every morning and scours these to bring us some of the ones that he thinks we need to read here on the air. It could be yours. Let's see, Stacy Trim. Stacy, regarding it took a Tom Cruise tweet to raise awareness of this troublesome TV setting. I know what they're talking about. It's
the soap opera effect.
The soap opera effect.
Motion smoothing on TV is a problem. You would not believe how many emails I get from people saying, I bought this TV and it looks weird. I don't understand why it's so strange. And I'm like, here's the thing. Most TVs ship with this feature enabled, which I don't understand because it's a big reason for returns. So, you know, I help them turn it off and then it looks normal and they're thrilled with their TV. I've been talking about this for like 7 years now. Right? And it's been talked about ever since HD TVs came out and motion smoothing came out. Then Tom Cruise comes out with this really weird PSA on Twitter, standing next to a director. I'm taking a break from Mission Impossible 48 to tell you about this motion smoothing thing. But it's legit. Like, I mean, now there's a bunch of awareness around it. So, you know, we had to cover it. That's what a weird story. You know, what is Tom Cruise doing?
Well, I mean, Tom Cruise kind of did what it took 7 years and you weren't able to accomplish. And then
That's right. And he comes through and he just does my job for me.
Well,
thank you, Tom Cruise.
Stacy says the best way to watch any Tom Cruise movie is to not watch any Tom Cruise movie.
Oh, bless. Oh, boy. Stacy.
Come on. Top Gun, I mean, come on.
Dude, and Top Gun 2 is coming around, isn't it?
Top Gun 2 is coming around.
I'm so geeking out over that.
All right, next comment. Thank you, Stacy, for commenting there on Facebook.
I love starting the morning with some snark.
Yeah,
and that
there's
Stacy Trim's coming through with some Tom Cruise.
It's the internet. We're going to find some snark.
Yeah, bring it. I want some more.
Jason Lawrence, regarding new adhesive tech, could let you remove Band-Aids with a blast of UV light. Jason's comment, is it really that much of an inconvenience to peel off a Band-Aid? Are we really at that point in society where taking off a Band-Aid bothers us that much?
You know what?
Jason is mad.
Jason clearly does not suffer from the body hair issues that I do. Let me tell you something. When you put on one of those super adhesive Band-Aids on an area that is loaded with hair, you do not want to take that off. Like, I'll just wait. I will wait for 3 weeks until that thing just sort of like disintegrates off of my wound.
I feel like we're really learning a lot.
Come on, seriously, it's like going in for a wax treatment. When you rip that thing off,
we're finding out more and more. Yeah.
Come on, you know this is true, Jason. I'm glad that you don't have this problem that some of us suffer, but I will buy that UV light thingy. Yes, definitely.
Right.
Saving my mornings.
Marshawn flashbacks. All right, Jason Lawrence, thank you for that.
Come on, I'm not that off the rails. Man.
No, I know.
This is totally relevant stuff.
It was relevant. It was very relevant. No, you're absolutely right. Chad McChad.
I'm sorry.
Just gotta let that go. Chad McChad. Greg McGregor.
You think that's his real name?
I don't know if it is, Chad. I mean, I'm not making fun of your name.
Greg McGregor.
Greg McGregorson. Anyway, regarding the first Hellboy trailer brings the apocalypse to Earth. I did see this, the first new Hellboy trailer with David Harbour, who's now playing Hellboy. Ron Perlman tried to be in this film, but they wouldn't let him. Such a letdown. I don't know if that's actually true.
I don't know either.
Because Ron Perlman and David Harbour, actually, there's a really famous picture of those two sitting down with Patton Oswalt because David Harbour and Ron Perlman had a fake fight online.
Oh, yeah?
About who was the real Hellboy.
Yeah.
And then they all sat down. And it's just a picture
And they
of them
were
all
friendly.
drinking scotch. Yeah.
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 That
I mean,
sounds
I
like a
don't.
good time.
I don't know if Ron Perlman's quite up to play Hellboy again, but regardless, I think the trailer looks great. I think it looks really good.
You know what? I dig Ron Perlman. I would enjoy seeing him as Hellboy again, but maybe he's, moved on. Maybe he's doing some other things.
Yeah.
Maybe he's gonna, revive Beauty and the Beast again. Do you remember that?
Could be. That's
You
right.
remember that TV
He
show?
was oh, I do.
Dude, he was the original Beast with, in the 80s on that TV show. Reaching
Learning
back.
things all the time.
Also, Manimal. Just going to leave that there.
All right.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it, and you will be so happy you did.
There it is. Another
80s
tip.
TV show called The Manimal.
There's your tip. Okay, John Longnecker, regarding the biggest AI and robot innovation of 2018 on Digital Trends Live. Topic, interesting, two talkers, silly talkers by now. Okay. Well, you are not going to like this segment.
This must have been wild. Yeah.
Was this live? Was this just happen right now?
We're silly talkers,
Yes.
and we're silly talking right now for John Longnecker.
Silly talkers right now. Well, yeah, John, I apologize for the silly talking that you had to endure. Yeah, well, he's not there watching anyway, so I guess that doesn't really matter at this point.
Maybe he is watching right now.
Maybe he is. Hi, John.
This segment's for you,
We'll
buddy.
be very serious from now on. Next comment coming through. No, all right, that's good. I can't.
You know that's not going to work.
That's not gonna
I'm
work
sitting
out.
here for crying out
All
loud.
right, Veronica Borg.
Are you making up these names? Jake, are you making up these names? Tell me Veronica Borg is a real name. Chad and Veronica Borg. This just gets better and better.
All right, Veronica Borg, regarding the Fold-O-Matic machine folds your clothes so you don't have to. I have seen that it's exactly that. It's a machine that folds your clothes. You just feed it into it. You still have to like pick it up and like feed it in, but then it folds them for you. It's pretty nice. $700 to $850. If you pay for that to not do your own laundry because you're lazy, I hope Natural Selection chooses you. Wow.
Yikes.
That's
spoken like
pretty
a true
harsh.
Borg.
Yes.
For sure. You know what, Veronica, you might as well just say, you know what, $15,000 just so you don't have to take the bus. I hope Natural Selection. I want a car. I want folded clothes. I want a folding clothes robot. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't judge me.
Yeah.
Natural Selection definitely is not going to judge me for having people want that.
That's right, Veronica.
Just like they want washing machines and dishwashers.
Assimilate somewhere else.
Yeah,
Veronica.
I'm lazy. It's okay.
All right. Well, there it is. I don't think I have anything to add on to that. I mean, that was
Nope.
a well thought out retort right there. Jerry Metner, regarding YouTuber drops glitter bomb on unsuspecting package.
Dude, this video. Come on.
The best story.
It is fantastic.
Yeah, the best story of the entire holiday season.
I mean, we've done the dog poop thing in the box for the Porch Pirates. You remember?
You did that?
Oh yeah, last year. You may not remember, but
That's
last
right.
year had a huge problem with Porch Pirates, and so my girlfriend actually put dog poop in a box, and then we had this fishing line that went under the door and into our house, and then like bells and cans and stuff like that. It was totally like straight out of Home Alone. And when people would try to take the box, the bells would come clanging on the floor, and then we'd know someone was there, and we'd run after them and see if we could catch them. One person actually wanted the box so bad that he like detached the fishing line and made off with the box because he thought there was something great in there. And I wish that I had a camera so I could have seen what it was like when he opened it.
Yeah.
This guy, this YouTuber who, by the way, actually engineered some parts that are on the Mars rover roving around Mars right now. I mean, he's a
former
legit
NASA engineer.
Legit engineer, really entertaining guy, great YouTube channel. You got to check this out. He built the most amazing thing. Like, I mean, he really over-engineered the crap out of it, 3D printed this custom case. It's an amazing video. If you haven't seen it already, definitely do, because it is hilarious. And I was also shocked by the people who were robbing the packages from this guy. You know, a couple of them opened them in their own house. These people have really nice houses that are like well decorated.
Nice
They're not
car,
hurting
nice
for money.
house.
They probably have jobs. They just want to like steal people's crap. I don't
It's
know.
a
They get what they
weird-
deserve though.
Yeah.
Watch this video.
Yeah, because now people are going to recognize them too, even though they blurred out their faces. Like that woman with her couch, it is covered in glitter. There's no getting rid of that glitter.
No,
ever.
it's buried deep, deep, deep.
Yeah.
So their friends are going to know that they are a porch pirate.
Absolutely. Jerry just said, put them on every porch in America. When enough thieves have been glitter bombed and fart sprayed, maybe then they will stop effing with people's property.
Yep.
So, yep.
True, Jerry.
Yeah, more of
And
it, more glitter
congratulations
bombs.
on having a more or less normal name for our segment this morning.
Caleb, Let's get you mad. All right. We got our tech headlines here to talk about, and there's several different things we're going to try to get through, but I want to let everybody know we are going to be heading to our New York studio shortly, where Jeremy Kaplan, our editor-in-chief, is going to be with Tim Alessi of LG to talk about everything LG has going on, maybe some updates on some of their products, maybe we'll see what he'll talk about with CES, all that coming up in just a few minutes, broadcasting live here on Facebook, Twitch, Periscope, and YouTube, so we can take your comments and questions as we go through. Here's another one of the trending stories, though, when it comes to technology. It has to do with Facebook, and this has slowly been coming out over the last couple of days, where we've seen some more information happen, and it's because of a New York Times report, an investigative report by them, about Facebook allowing major tech companies access to your data.
That headline,
no shocking.
That headline does not really tell the story.
It doesn't.
I don't get ruffled by this stuff very easily. You know, data breaches happen. You know, like the Marriott one, the SPG.
Right, with 500 million accounts.
Accounts with really basic information were, you know, released or, you know, obtained.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, that had me a little bit concerned. You know, I definitely care about my data and my privacy and stuff. But this thing right here with Facebook takes it to an entirely new level. Like, first of all, they couldn't really afford this controversy. Like, they were already struggling as it is.
Well, they just had, it was, I think, 68 million users had their private photos exposed to third-party apps. And this was announced last week, a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it comes so fast right now, it's hard to even keep track of all of them, how many different security breaches. But Facebook in particular, not having a good time. And this one seems, I'm reading the report, it's almost malicious, like what they're being accused of.
Yeah, well, I mean, with photos, like, it's okay. So you obtained my pictures of my cats and my tater tot casserole. That's fine. Yeah. I'm not that worried about that. But this was my personal data being voluntarily shared with Netflix, and I mean, not just data, but like my private messages.
Yeah.
They could straight up look at my private messages with my mom, my girlfriend, or whatever. That's next level stuff right there.
And this article's at digitaltrends.com too, kind of our report on the New York Times report. And essentially, though, to boil it down a little bit, is it works like this. Facebook was allowing major companies like Spotify, Netflix, I believe Microsoft's
Bing browser. Browser. Which, I mean, I laugh every time I say Bing. Nobody uses that stupid browser. And so what do they need with my data? That's ridiculous.
Well, we don't know what they need with the data. I mean, because there's all kinds of information to be gleaned from there. But what they were doing was, these weren't necessarily things you were saying like, oh, okay, yeah, they can have access to this. They were going through some of your private messages, where they were gathering the data and reading your private messages. I mean, I doubt somebody was like physically, you know, going through and reading what you wrote someone, but they're pulling all that data out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not something that I think any of us would agree to.
It's totally uncool, and here's the thing. We at some point said, okay, Facebook, we'll let you manage this yourself. We'll let you internally fix this problem. And they say that they've made it a priority for all of 2018, but clearly they haven't done a great job. And I don't think we can trust them. Yeah. I was going to be the last person who suggests that the federal government should somehow intervene and have oversight over Facebook. I think that's unnecessary. I don't like a lot of government oversight in general. But now that we can't really trust Facebook, I'm wondering if maybe that's not the better idea. And I can't wait to see Mark Zuckerberg sit down in front of Congress and answer for this crap. Because you thought it looked awkward before, this is going to be next level. Like, he's barely going to be able to get a word out without just falling all over himself.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, because a lot of what this is too is they agreed not to do this, and supposedly they've been continuing.
Specifically this, they said they weren't going to do it.
Lying and saying that they weren't.
Yeah.
So they've got a massive issue going on right now, and we'll see where this shakes out. But I don't think it's something that's going to go away.
Nope. I'm definitely going to be watching.
We'll be seeing more and more of this. So that was one other thing to add on. The report also says that up to let's see, more than 150 technology companies were on the list through 2017, and several were still accessing data this year.
Yeah.
Still this year, they were accessing the Facebook
stuff
data.
That you did 2 months ago.
Yeah. So we will see where that ends up when it comes down to it. But definitely stay tuned to that. Check that out at digitaltrends.com. All right, I think we're about ready to head to our New York studio here. I want to thank everyone. Just reminding again, we're broadcasting live, so we can take your comments and questions. Whatever happens here, we're broadcasting live. Hello to everyone who's tuning in. And Caleb is going to be right back here with us after this next segment because we are going to be talking about holiday television buying, like tips, tricks, everything you need to know when it comes to that. All right, continuing on with Digital Trends Live, we're going to head to our New York studio right now where we're going to be joined by Tim Alessi of LG with our own Jeremy Kaplan, our editor-in-chief. Hello, New York.
Thank you very much for the handoff. Thanks, Caleb, as well. Nice listening to you guys
Jeremy,
talk.
ever the sailor.
You guys were feeding us.
G'day!
Over there. And I'm joined today by Mr. Tim Alessi. I was going to call him by his full title, but instead I'm going to call him Senior Muckety Muck over at LG. One of our good friends there. Thank you for joining us on the show.
My pleasure. By senior, do you call me old?
That's exactly what I meant.
Okay.
Old Muckety Muck. This is officially the new title that we're giving the man. Happy holidays. It's a mere 2 or 3 days, 4 days?
A couple days away.
Oh my God, it's so soon. I can't even stand it. Have you done your shopping? Are you ready?
I have done my shopping, yes.
What did you get me?
Well, I can't say anything. It'll spoil a surprise.
I'm not going to buy that. I need details. Let's see. I'm going to go with Porsche. I would like a Porsche from you.
It starts with a P. I'll give you that.
Okay, good. Perfect. Yes. You heard it here first. We wanted to talk about holiday shopping in general. LG, of course, makes a broad array of phenomenal products. One of the ones that I was hoping we could talk about a little bit was the C8 series of OLEDs, which we gave an award recently, Best Television of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
A good gift for the holidays, perhaps?
Absolutely. For someone you love on your list, the C8 OLED, whether it's a 55, 65, or 77-inch screen size, you're not going to go wrong with that for a gift.
So if you have a few $1,000s lying around and you haven't done your shopping yet, like me, I have not done any of it, sadly, terrifyingly, a good gift. Let's talk a little about OLED technology in general. It feels like the prices have really fallen from just 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, they have. I mean, a 55-inch OLED now you can pick up for about $16.99 for holiday promotion. 65 and 77, a little bit more, obviously, but certainly within a very accessible range for most people. And when you consider what you're getting, really the state-of-the-art in panel technology, the OLED, as you know, is an emissive technology, means it makes its own light, so you don't need that whole backlight unit that an LCD has. And the benefits from that, there's a couple. Perfect black on a pixel-by-pixel level, so you have very detailed control. Even the best LCDs with full-array local dimming don't have 8.3 million local dimming zones. So you get the great contrast, you get the bright highlights where you need it, perfect for today's HDR content, and a beautiful color palette. Ultra thin, only a couple of millimeters in depth. It looks great whether it's on or off.
What I've noticed about those two, you kind of get used to what you're watching at home. So the set you've got at home, it's 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old, whatever, and you're looking at it going, it's good enough. You kind of adjust to it. And then if you go to the store and take a look at something like this, you're like, oh gosh, there is that huge range of stuff that I just haven't seen. The eyes are really missing out on this stuff.
Exactly, and you know, LCDs have improved over the years with wider color gamuts, different levels of brightness, design. But when you see an OLED, it's obvious that there's something different. Even if it's a non-professional viewer like the people watching here probably, you just know there's something different about an OLED, and it's that black level that just sets everything else off again.
Yeah, it really is remarkable. It's great technology. Let's talk about screen size for a sec, because you mentioned 65, 72,
77.
77. So I've got a 55-inch at home, and it feels like the walls haven't grown, right? But televisions seem to keep growing.
They keep growing, but the form factors enable it to fit into the same or less of a footprint. I have a 55-inch OLED in my living room. It replaced a 50-inch plasma, and it's actually a smaller footprint because the bezel is ultra-thin. It's only a few millimeters. The depth is ultra-thin, again, a few millimeters, while the plasma, it was a flat panel TV. It was really cool and high-tech at the time I got it, but now, we were able to just trim everything down, and with 4K, you can sit closer than you needed to before.
Sure.
So you can put a bigger screen in a smaller area and still have a great viewing experience.
So someone might be hearing 65-inch and thinking, gosh, my wall's not that big, but it's actually not as big as you might think.
That's right. I've never heard anybody say, I wish I bought a smaller TV.
Very true. Let's talk about OLED in general. So I think a lot of people don't necessarily realize LG, the only company that makes these, or one of the few companies that makes these?
Yeah, I would say, I don't know if it's the only, but LG Display, our sister company, really invested a huge amount of money into OLED technology. And right now, we're pretty much the only company supplying OLED panels to
For the television industry.
to television industry.
So if you go out and you see a Sony screen that's got an OLED, and Sony has a lot of technology of their own, but that OLED panel, that's yours?
Well, you know, I can't comment on supply arrangements between our sister company, but you can do the math. We make
There you go.
LG Display does all the OLED.
You mentioned 4K a little while ago. We've seen some 8K televisions out in the market from some other companies. I think consumers are probably a little bit confused. What do you think is the path here? Is that something we should be looking at now or next year or 10 years from now?
8K is clearly coming, as you mentioned. There are a couple of sets on the market right now that were recently introduced by another company. We showed some prototype 8K OLED at IFA in Berlin back in September. And so you're going to start to see 8K getting more and more presence in the market in the coming year, I believe.
Fingers crossed. It's definitely sharper, crisper. I like that. More pixels. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
We're waiting for the content to catch up, as always.
Well, you know, that was always the case. You know, thinking back to when HD first came on the market, there was no content. And then the first content was, you know, bugs mating and things like that.
All these nature documents.
And then same thing with 4K. Now 4K content with HDR is catching up. It'll be the same with 8K. But the good news is that the processing in these TVs is so powerful that it has the ability to take 2K or 4K content, upscale it to 8K.
Right.
You know, we introduced what we call our Alpha 9 intelligent processor in 2018. We'll have another generation coming in 2019 that's going to do an even better job. And so the lack of native 8K content, I don't think is going to be an issue.
I think we're going to see a lot of nature documentaries, though. I think that is definitely going to be the case.
Who
So
doesn't
some
want-
guy down the street from you is going to come home this holiday season with his 8K set, and you're going to be forced to sit there and watch beautiful imagery of flowers and petals and bugs flying. You're going to be like, this is great. Let me get away and never watch this again.
Sure, nature is great.
I love
Back
it.
to nature.
It's wonderful stuff. Let's talk about micro LED for a second as well. And the television industry is fascinating. There has been, you'd think, oh, at some point there's going to be a finite number of advancements, and yet they keep on transforming and coming up with these great new ideas. Tell us a little bit about micro LED.
Well, micro LED is another technology that is a different way, different kind of approach. It uses extremely small, hence the micro, LEDs to get the red, green, and blue subpixels. So again, similar to OLED in that regard, that each pixel's making its own light, so you have a very discrete control over it. You know, LG is always looking at new technologies. We have the know-how to make micro LED. We're looking at the market, and we'll always invest in things that we think there's going to be consumer value and consumer demand for. But that's a little bit further down the road, I think. You know, like I said before, we invested a huge amount in OLED. It's still the state-of-the-art in TV panel technology for a consumer. And, you know, we appreciate the Best TV of the Year award. Since it was introduced 5 years ago, we've pretty much won that award every year running. And we don't take it for granted, and you know, we certainly appreciate it. So we're really focused on even further advancements in making that OLED picture as good as it is, even better.
That's what impresses me about companies like yours, just the way that we think a technology is as great as it's going to be, and there's some engineer sitting in some room scrutinizing a panel, tweaking the electromechanics behind it in order to get just a little bit more brightness or just a slightly wider color gamut.
Well, the good thing is there's a very critical audience out there. And, you know, people like to really get into the nitty-gritty of what makes a picture. And as good as everything is, there's always something we can improve on. And the great news is that we have a bunch of really smart people over in Korea and other parts of the world that are thinking about that stuff and really trying to stay one step ahead to really delight our customers who buy this technology.
And in just 3 short weeks at the CES show, I'm sure you're going to unveil a whole slew of phenomenal new products, right?
Absolutely, as we always do.
Can you tell us right now, ahead of time, what we're going to see? Is there one big thing that you're going to unveil that you can break all the embargoes and tell us right now?
Well, I'm not going to break any embargoes, but as
Damn it, Tim. I'm going to allow this.
You know, Christmas is the season of miracles, and CES is the season of new miracles in technology as well. And you're going to want to be at our press conference. It's 8 a.m. on a Monday morning.
I will do that.
Can you make that?
I can do that.
Okay. I know you're invited. So.
Thank you.
But you'll see, as I mentioned, you're going to see some advancements in OLED, in the picture processing that make it even better, even smarter. Some new screen sizes and form factors and things like that. It'll be worth the early wake up.
It's always a neat event, and it's always a neat show from you guys. Last year, there were a bunch of fantastic robots, which were just astonishing to see. It's funny how the U.S. doesn't really embrace robots the way that Asia does and other parts of the world do. LG makes a bunch of really neat ones.
Yeah, robots are cool. We have, one of the cool things about our OLED TV this year is it has the ability through voice commands to control things like our robot vacuum, where you can just say start vacuum, and it'll go off and do it.
I haven't embraced the robot vacuum yet, but I don't know what's holding me back. Everyone else loves them. We keep hearing reviews.
They're cool.
I hear from a lot of readers that love them, and I got to get on board with this. I think that might be my holiday gift to myself, robot vacuum. What can I say?
Why not? You deserve it.
Well, Tim, thank you very much for making time to join us. I appreciate you coming over here.
My pleasure. Always good to see you and to talk to the Digital Trends audience.
And happy holidays.
Same to you.
I look forward to my Porsche. I will take it in racing green or red, whatever you want. Frankly, I'll take it in any color.
Okay. Sounds good.
You heard it here first. He's actually going to buy me a Porsche. I say this to every guest that comes on the show. So I'm going to have a garage full of phenomenal cars. Anyway, thank you very much. Pleasure talking to you. And Greg, I'm going to throw it back to you over in Portland.
All right, thank you. When do we get our Porsches up here? That's what I'm kind of wondering about. I didn't hear anything about these Porsches before. But all right, thank you,
Everyone gets
Jeremy
Porsches.
and Tim, for hopping in there from our New York studio to talk about everything with LG. We really appreciate it. Now, we are moving on to this. We're joined by Caleb Denison of Digital Trends right here in studio to talk about televisions. Now is the time of year I feel like when so many people are buying just because you get it kind of hammered into your head where it's, it's around Christmas. It's time to buy a television. The deals are so good.
It's true.
But let me ask you this just to start off here. Is now the best time to buy?
It is, yeah, it really is.
It is,
From
okay.
now and through the Super Bowl, into February, definitely the best time to buy because the deals are never better, and also they're going to clear out the inventory. We're about to go into CES where we'll hear about all the new TVs for 2019, but retailers are starting to want to clear out that inventory so that they can load up their warehouses with all the new stuff that's going to ship in March and April. So everything's discounted at its maximum. And yeah, it really is. It's a great time to buy a TV. You spend the entire first half of the year with the prices up at their maximum, and then they just kind of whittle down.
Right.
And also, it's a highly appealing time. I mean, who doesn't love the idea of having a TV for a holiday gift? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Start off the new year with a brand new television.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
pretty good feeling.
And we're getting into the sports season and all that other good stuff. So, a lot of people are buying TVs right now. And unfortunately, a lot of people are just going for the best deal they can find without doing a whole lot of research on the TV first. That can present some problems.
I feel like that's a big issue because, and I used to do that too, actually, before reading a lot of Digital Trends and realizing, oh, that's probably not the best thing to do because sometimes you can find a really, really cheap television, but it's not going to last very long. And there's a whole bunch of issues that'll come with that. And that's kind of what we wanted to talk with Caleb about, too, is walking through that. And since we're broadcasting live, we can take your questions. You thinking about getting a TV right now? If you're thinking about that, or if you have questions about a television, hop in there and let us know what your comments and questions are about this. So, Caleb, say somebody, walk us through this. Say somebody buys a television.
Yeah.
What do you do after that? Because there's steps after that where I have never really thought of this.
Right. So don't feel like you're stuck with your TV to begin with, right?
That's a huge thing.
You may not be pleased. You have a return window there, 30 days. And during the holidays, retailers are usually a little bit more, lenient about that. So even if it's past 30 days, technically, no big deal. You can return the TV. Things to look for. When you pull it out of the box and you turn it on, look at some sports. You know, hockey is a great one to do it because it's a lot of white on the screen.
Okay.
Or you can watch soccer or football. There's a whole lot of green on the screen. What you're looking for is uniformity. If you see blotchiness at all, I would say pack that TV up and send it back. And the reason I mention this, it's because it's a bigger problem than it's ever been before. Yes, the TVs are insanely cheap right now and really, really great quality when you get a good one. But unfortunately, there's this term we have in the industry called the panel lottery. And, you know, there's A, B, and C quality panels, and the best ones go to the very most expensive TVs, and so usually you're safe there. But when you get to that middle tier, the quality control is not as good.
Well,
you know,
I don't know if you want to say what brands that would be, like if somebody's looking.
You know, no.
That may be something you need to avoid.
No brand is immune. I don't mind talking about it.
Okay.
I'm here to tell the truth. Sony is really reliable. You almost always get a great panel from Sony if you're buying an LCD TV. Samsung and LG also very reliable, but not perfect, okay? When you start talking about the TCLs, the Hisense, the Scepters, you know, there's the Hairs, there's a bunch of different brands, usually from a Chinese manufacturer. Vizio too, yeah. They can present some amazing value, especially Vizio and TCL are producing some absolutely incredible TVs for the money, and you should definitely give them a shot. But look out for problems when you unbox that TV. There's a quality control problem that I don't think is really being talked enough about. And so just unbox the TV and turn it on, get like some
Can you just
sports
take it out and
going
just
on
plug it right in? Is there anything, like you being an expert, is there a step that you should go through?
Definitely there's some
before?
setup stuff. So what I'm talking about now is just making sure that you got a decent panel, you know,
Yeah.
in that TV.
Okay, so for the
and if it
panel-
looks nice and clean, if you don't see what we call dirty screen effect, and you can look that up online, dirty screen effect, blotchy screen, whatever. You know, once you get past the point where you've decided, yes, I got a good TV, it's a good panel, awesome. Then you want to get into the TV settings. Don't just plug it in and turn it on. It'll probably be in its standard or vivid mode where it looks really super bright and it's super dazzling at first, but that's going to wear off over time, and the colors aren't accurate the way they should be. So I love going into the movie mode or the cinema mode or the cinema pro or something
Whatever
like
they
that.
call it, yeah.
Yeah, that's going to disable a bunch of BS processing that you don't want
Okay.
right off the bat. Now, it may not be bright enough for you, and that's okay. You can turn up the backlight, you can turn up the brightness, and maybe, you know, usually don't have to bump the contrast too much to get it a little bit more, you know, zesty of a picture, if you will. Zesty TV.
Technical term, yeah,
Yeah,
zesty.
exactly. We use it all the time. But otherwise, you know, the colors are going to be better. And then, like we were talking about earlier, I don't know for readers or watchers who didn't see the earlier part of the show, Tom Cruise recently did this PSA about
Right.
motion smoothing and it making, we call it soap opera effect, where it basically,
I mean, I think we've probably all experienced, especially when you first saw something in HD or 4K.
go into a bar and watch, you know, the TVs there. Like when they're playing sports, it's not that obvious, but as soon as like a movie or TV show comes
Yeah.
on, it looks like a soap opera, right? Because it's not, you're used to seeing this stuff at 24 frames per second. You don't know that, you just know what it looks like.
Right.
And as soon as it's not that, as soon as it's doubled up to like 60 frames per second or whatever, it just looks fake. It looks
Yeah.
like a soap opera. So there's a setting in your TV where you need to go and turn that off. It's not, a lot of people think, well, this is what HD TV looks like. This
And
is
I'll
what
be honest.
4K TV looks like. No, it's not. It's
That's
this-
what I thought it was too.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize.
It's a really, really common misconception. So you want to go into your, we actually have an article at Digital Trends that explains how to get into your TV settings and how to turn this off. So if you're not familiar with, you know, all the different nomenclature that gets used, AutoMotion Plus, Cinemotion, Cinema Smoothing, it's called a bunch of different things by a bunch of different TV manufacturers. So it can be a little confusing. Check out digitaltrends.com and just search soap opera effect. It'll pop right up. We'll walk you through the process on how to turn that off. And those two things alone, turning it into movie mode and bumping the brightness and then turning off the soap opera effect, radically better TV for you.
So you do that, then you take a look and see if you see any of the blotchiness.
I would just check for the blotchiness first
Right off
because you're going to
Don't be
know
afraid
right
to
off the
take it
bat whether or not, yeah, and don't be afraid to return it. You know, exchange it for another one. You can stick with the exact same TV. Chances are there's a good one out there. You just need to, you might have to go through a TV or two to get one. And
Might have
it's
got a
sad that that's
clunker.
where we're at, but if you want that super high value, want that amazing picture quality for like next to no money, you got to work for it a little bit.
There's some questions coming in. Let's see, just about how is LG tackling burn-in issue? Oh, that was a question
On OLED?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For OLED, if you go like that high end for OLED, and I've seen that question come through a few times. Anytime we brought up OLED televisions on this show, at least, people will be like, "What about burn-in? What about burn-in?"
Yeah, well, it's a hot topic.
What about burn-in?
So I'll tell you right now, the nature of OLED panels is that they can be burnt in if you treat them really harshly.
Okay.
If you watch the same, let's say you watch CNN or Fox News all day, every day, and I mean like 8 or 9 hours, you put it on one station and you leave it there. So that ticker at the bottom and the little bug, the logo down in the lower thirds is there all the time. You're going to burn in your TV.
Okay.
If you play the same video game, and I mean the same game, every day, 8 hours a day for months on end, yes, you will burn in the TV. And there are some people who do that, you know.
I know.
But I mean, I'm sure you're not one of them. But
Right. Not 8 hours.
but the fact of the matter is that's I don't want to say it's abusive behavior, but I mean that's just kind of an extreme situation. If you're that kind of a person, don't buy an OLED.
Right.
I'm sorry, but you don't get to have one. You wait till micro LED comes out or something like that. Just buy a really great LCD LED TV. That's the best way you can go. But if, you know, for most people, it's not a problem. Like you can buy an OLED TV, you're going to use it for years and years and years, and you're never going to see any sign of burn-in. I have family members and friends who bought OLEDs over the last couple of years, never had a problem, still don't have a problem. So. Yeah, LG can't do a whole lot about burn-in because it's part of the nature of those organic compounds that are in the TV. It's
Something that you just have to.
Yeah.
That's just part of what it is.
Yeah, exactly. If you want the best black levels, like Tim Alessi was probably just talking about, the best black levels, the best color, the best contrast, this is the TV technology that gives it to you, and it comes with a couple caveats.
Before we wrap up, what's the best window? Like, say somebody hasn't bought one yet. Do you want to buy one like right after Christmas, or I know people always say like up till Super Bowl. Does it go past Super Bowl? Like, when's the best time to get the best deal?
So I would say if you don't buy before like the 27th or the 29th of December, hold on and buy in late January or early February.
Okay, so past that window. And,
Yep.
Yeah, wait.
You want to, I mean, they're going to run sales and make things very attractive, but like the best prices, like the clearance closeout prices, happen at the end of January and early February. Just watch out. Don't wait too long then, because like this stuff will start disappearing, and then the model that you wanted, maybe it won't be available if you don't hop on it.
They'll have the new stuff coming in. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Caleb, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Details. This is our expert. This is who we go to. Caleb knows all of this. You can check out all of his articles at digitaltrends.com and all the articles about what we were just talking about as well. So, Caleb, thank you for joining us today.
So welcome. I love being here, and I can't wait to come back.
It is so much fun. All right, now we are going to go to a break because we're going to be coming back in just a couple of minutes with Ray Soto, the Director of Emerging Technology for USA Today Network. And we're going to talk about VR and AR and how that's working in the entertainment world and how you cross that bridge into creative storytelling and journalism and how it's accenting it and what's going on with that. We're going to discuss all of that with Ray, and we're really excited to have him on the show. So stick right with us. We'll take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you for tuning in, broadcasting live on Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, and YouTube, meaning we can take your comments and your questions every day live at 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Our next guest is Ray Soto, the Director of Emerging Technology for the USA Today Network. We are so excited to have him on to talk about this whole world of virtual reality, AR, MR, how that's being utilized and how we're crossing the bridge into creative storytelling and journalism, how it's accenting it. I have so many questions. I should probably just bring you on the show. Hello, Ray.
How's it going?
Doing great. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get into my questions and talking about everything you're doing, why don't we just, if you don't mind, if we could walk people through kind of your background and how you came to this position here at USA Today.
Yeah, first and foremost, I really appreciate the opportunity to kind of share our story. But to answer your question, it's definitely been an interesting journey. I am a former video game developer. I worked for, EA, NCSoft on different IPs, mostly on PC online gaming. And I did not expect to get into, creative storytelling within USA Today and news. But when I think about it, kind of looking back, it's a really perfect fit. When you consider where virtual reality and augmented reality, the tools that are used to create these experiences, they're very much similar to what you find in the video game industry. And it kind of, when you consider my background and game developers, we're passionate about interactive stories. So it was definitely an interesting transition. It was definitely a challenge because when you consider video games highly creative, in the news space, you can't make stuff up. So there was quite a bit of a learning curve, but something that I very much appreciate to have had the opportunity to make that transition from video games into creative storytelling here at USA Today.
I think it really is kind of a unique situation of you have video games always at the forefront, or generally speaking, the forefront of technology, and USA Today, which is in the past at least considered to be a more traditional journalistic news source, and marrying these two and just having that, crossing that bridge, like what were one of the first steps that you did when you hopped on board, and how do you see this this crossover happening?
Yeah, so the whole conversation started around there was someone on the digital side who had reached out to me. And they had gotten my phone number from a colleague asking if I was interested in exploring virtual reality opportunities, as applied to storytelling. And, my interest was very much piqued. At the time, this was almost 5 years ago, the Oculus DK1 was out. So, everyone was really interested in virtual reality, but no one at the time really was speaking too much how to apply interactive storytelling within that platform. So, the conversations really started off with what can we do with this platform that provides a unique perspective for an audience, someone to feel as if they're actually there, to feel as if they're engaging, have full control of the story the way that they want to actually consume the story, essentially play up to virtual reality strengths. And the conversation that we initially had to support a project that we ended up releasing called Harvest of Change was truly inspiring. I feel as if the USA Today Network truly understood that there's an opportunity here to do something different, to explore, and it's what we've been doing for the past 5 years. And you had mentioned before, for virtual reality, augmented reality, and where things might go from here. And USA Today is very much, there's a rich history of innovation, and this is just one small aspect of one of our kind of commitments of exploring storytelling through emerging tech.
So just kind of a multi-tiered approach to bringing people different viewpoints and different ways to look at the news or the articles or the investigations that you have going on.
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of those things where we're developing these interactive stories because we feel as if there's an impact there. When you consider some of the work that we've done more recently, our Pulitzer Prize winning the Wall Project, in which VR was just one small component of this very, very large feature story, that we want users to engage. We want them to feel as if they can walk away from something with a little bit more information, feel as if they've been moved in some way. So each project that we look at and possibly to determine whether or not we're going to work with VR or AR as a component of a story, it's what can we do that plays to the strengths of the story and how can we apply the technology to it. So it's not necessarily just bringing the news, it's more of just telling a story that can really leave an impact.
Let's talk about a couple of the projects, because I mean, you brought up The Wall, which congratulations, Pulitzer Prize winning, and And what did you do with that? Because we've got some video I wanted to show, just kind of how you took that story and how did you apply VR to that to give that other perspective?
Yeah, that was, that was one of the most rewarding projects and also the most challenging projects I've ever worked on. It was very, very ambitious. We started the conversation months early before we even started capturing some photographs to kind of build the environments that you see here. And ultimately, what we wanted to do was provide, a perspective in which these different environments across the border are very different from one another. That building a wall at the border is actually a much more complex issue that most folks might not realize. And we thought that VR would provide that perspective of, that you can't necessarily build a wall down this massive cliff at Big Bend, which is one of the experiences we have within this project. So, the entire process was very interesting. It was also very much of a creative and development challenge. When we had started off, we were hoping to leverage LiDAR to build out our environments. We had hired a helicopter crew to go out and capture points of data, and we were hoping to build some environments from there, and it just didn't work for us. Fortunately, we ended up leveraging photogrammetry. They were, capturing high-resolution images for us, and that got us a nice foundation to build upon. And from there, we started just working very, very closely with the editorial teams that were, at these different locations to tell these stories, to make sure that we're providing the perspective that the user feels as if, okay, I'm actually there. But at the same time, learning what makes that location unique as applied to the story. So things such as, drug trafficking, migrant crossing, eminent domain, very, very complex, lots and lots of different types of topics within it. So it was complex, but it was a lot of fun to work on for sure.
I mean, I think it's really incredible, and obviously Pulitzer Prize winning on top of that. I mean, I think this idea of making something more real, especially when it comes to a story like that with the wall, or just making it more interactive for people, it makes it more, this isn't just something I'm reading about, okay, that's, that's not, whatever, it's a story, that's fine, I can go off and forget about it. You do this, you're actually in there and you're feeling what's going on, you're getting to see it from those perspectives and something that you wouldn't normally get. I think it's really incredible. Let's talk about one of your other ones. This is the Uss Eisenhower. I was just watching some of that online. Let's talk about the creation of that and what that is.
Yeah, so I like to call this one the Eisenhower Project, our kitchen sink project. I'd mentioned early on that our very first interactive VR project was Harvest of Change. And we learned quite a bit developing that experience. And at the time, we really had no reference materials to work from. And that included, 360, what works, what doesn't work for the video side of things, what works from a UX perspective and interaction schemes. So what ended up happening is the U.S. Navy reached out to us and provided us an opportunity to actually get onto the Eisenhower for 3 days of live combat training exercises. So when we had that opportunity, we wanted to return back to interactive storytelling and provide an experience that users feel as if they can actually explore and discover the many, many stories on this floating city. And we incorporated stereoscopic video, working with the Nokia Ozo. We had 2 camera, 4 cameras, 6 camera arrays. We had spatial audio. We essentially took everything that we had done over 2 years between Harvest of Change and this project to apply everything that we had learned. And I wouldn't say that we had everything figured out, but we had a hunch as far as storytelling, and that we could return back to it. And it was just the right time, and it did very well for us. And it was a fun project to kind of kickstart where we would be going after the Eisenhower Project, because when you consider the Eisenhower Project was our second interactive, and what we learned from the Eisenhower we applied to the wall. So it made it a bit more of an easy transition for us when it comes to complex storytelling of various topics.
Complex storytelling and figuring out which technology works best for which story, in this new format as it's developing constantly too. It's not like this is a platform that's been around for a long time. It's always changing, and so I imagine that's a big challenge when it comes down to it. Let's talk about your the 321 app, the 321 launch app. What are your plans with that, and where do you want to take people with this app?
The one thing I want to preface that with 321 launch, it was our first augmented reality app, and it was due to a strong collaboration with our Florida Today, who are our space experts based out of Florida. And we were very, very fortunate enough to have the access that we did, down at Kennedy Space Center, trying to learn which stories we can tell. But ultimately, we wanted to provide an experience that users who can feel as if they're a part of these live launches. So through augmented reality, you'll see an example here, the Falcon 9 rocket, sitting on the actual launch pad. You would see it animate in real time, in sequence with the actual launch that's happening from Kennedy Space Center. And our plans for it, we're very much looking forward to expanding it. Right now it's limited to just one interactive, non-live experience, but users can still watch all of the upcoming launches to include, the Falcon 9s and ULA's launches as well. But we're looking to expand it because we recognize that there are different, let's say the Falcon Heavy. There are different locations that some of these rockets can launch from. So we're looking to expand it. We're very fortunate that Apple featured the app, and we see that folks are engaging with AR content, storytelling, and we're looking to expand it. And we have some big plans coming up for the app.
Very cool. As somebody who really loves anything, I'm a space nerd, so I love the idea of this app like this. That's so much fun to me. Final thing I wanted to ask here too, just where we're going forward, just kind of maybe thinking forward several years. How do you see this evolving? I mean, we have, people are working on haptic suits and different things like that. I mean, are we about ready to be in Ready Player One essentially in a couple of years, or where do you see this going in the next few years?
I'm really, really excited about where VR, AR, and just emerging technologies are taking us. What I see is a future in which convergence of different technology types coming into, singular platforms, persistent platforms. What I'm really excited about is augmented reality's future. With where we're at right now, I think it's a little bit more playful. Folks trying to kind of figure out what works, what doesn't work. For our specific purposes, we're focusing on a storytelling side of things. But for the future of AR, I could see an opportunity in which, eyewear, walking down the street, to kind of pull from what Charlie Fink had said at South by, data is everywhere. And we want to leverage that data in a much more intuitive and seamless way. And I feel as if we're maybe just a couple years out from that. And our hope is to have USA Today to be, a part of that ecosystem, a part of that, the brand for you to be there when you need it. And well, I don't think we're necessarily too close to Ready Player One. I'm very much looking forward to something like that. Don't get me wrong, but I do see all these technologies continue to grow. I think the momentum is going to just continue to gain traction, and audiences are going to be looking forward to it.
Ray, thank you so much for joining us and talking about this really exciting stuff, and excited to see where it goes and where you go with the USA Today Network and all the different things that you guys are coming out with. Ray, thanks so much for hopping on Digital Trends Live.
Hey, thanks much. I appreciate it.
All right, and again, everyone, we bring you these kinds of stories every day here at Digital Trends Live. I've got one more that I wanted to hit because we were going to talk about it at the beginning. Because, come on, who doesn't like some weird robot videos? I've got a weird robot video for you. And this is the one, it's maybe a little bit disturbing at first until I tell you what it's for. So this is, it's called the Z6. It's a portable and foldable spider robot that was created by a Hong Kong-based company called Robugtix. Robugtix. I'm probably not saying that right, but once you see it, it looks like a Robugtix. So this is the Z6, and what this video is, it's a robot that unfolds with a bunch of spider legs and then does some kind of a weird aerobic dance. And this is actually a robot with its creepy eye on top of that. Now you look at this, you're thinking this is where nightmares come from. However, the idea behind it is actually pretty noble. So this was just kind of a demonstration of what it could do. Essentially, this robot can fold up, and they're saying that it could even be carried in a backpack, and that it would eventually be something that would help people, in rescue missions or exploration, even on the surface of another planet, because it's so diverse. Like you could do so many different things with it, and so I think it's kind of an interesting use of technology, despite being creepy. Okay, when it's in a spider mode, no, that's just a no for me. But nonetheless, the idea of that kind of technology being utilized, I wanted to make sure that we got to that before we closed out today's show. And again, broadcasting live every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, here with Digital Trends Live across all our different social media platforms, which means you can share the show, hit subscribe, follow along at digitaltrends.com every day with all of the stories that we're talking about. We're back again tomorrow for another show, and we've got all kinds of things lined up for you on that as well. So stick around with us every day. Every day, join us and talk to us and have fun. We did our tech headlines in the beginning. Did give you an update on the Facebook story. That's going to be continuing. Follow digitaltrends.com for more information on that. We had Tim Alessi of LG. Tim Alessi of LG on the show, talking about everything LG's doing, a little bit of a sneak peek. We'll see if we can find out some more stuff about that, and we'll have that updated at Digital Trends. Caleb Denison giving you your holiday television gift buying guide, but also the tips and tricks that I never even thought of about what to do once you buy that television. So really great information there. And then Ray Soto, Director of Emerging Technology from the USA Today Network, talking about those exciting things with VR, AR, MR, creative storytelling, where we're going with that. Every day we have something new for you here right on Digital Trends Live. Some new information, we learned something, we have some fun. So we will be right back with you tomorrow, joining right here with more Digital Trends Live.